All right, Packer. Shalom, namaste, assalamu alaikum, bonjour, ni hao, welcome. U.S. history for Thursday, May 21st, 2020. Tell you, first of all, what I was just thinking about as I was putting this together is just I was thinking about spring break. Just like, wow. Think about that. Think about where we were when we left. Trimester 2, spring break. Man, that means, I tell you what, that means if you're watching this, you have done some things to be proud of. Because if you're here with me on May 21st, 2020, you've done some things that you can be proud of. So that's really cool. Really quick one today. Just want to make sure that we look back on how the learning activities went the first time around so that we don't make the same mistakes twice, and then make sure we know where the rest of the week goes. One of the things, looking back on the learning activities that you turned in last week on African American civil rights, is the reality that a lot of you uncovered. I think some of you for the first time that Martin Luther King failed several times, came into a town, wanted to end things and change things, and didn't work, had to leave because it didn't work. Just like we talked about George Washington failing, and that of course helps all of us because certainly I've had some failures over distance learning and beyond, and I'm sure you have too, but we can see these people, these famous people that we look on as quote unquote heroic, also failed. So that was a good reminder that some students uncovered. The other thing that happened on Wednesday night was almost $500,000 was given away. $456,000 was given away to this class of 2020, right? That lost a lot of things that they had hoped for. But what that tells us is that the community that you're a part of, whether your address says South St. Paul or not, this community really cares about you, is deeply invested in you, right? And as much as the class of 2020 will kind of have this asterisk as they graduated here in the midst of this pandemic, really, you all know the class of 2022 has overcome a lot, has grown a lot, and that night in 2 years when you all graduate and take home this money, that will be equally, or at least in its own special, unique way, as impressive. And then I won't see you then until next week, with Friday being a teacher learning day and Monday being Memorial Day. But do take a look at the history of Memorial Day. It actually goes back to the Civil War, but didn't become officially an American holiday across the country until the 1960s. But what we're supposed to be doing is thinking about the people who died fighting to protect this country. People were willing, time and time and time again, to say this idea of America is imperfect but really important, and I'm willing to die so that this country can continue, which kind of motivates us, at least motivates me, to continue to make this thing really good through and beyond this awful pandemic. So we saw the slide on Tuesday, but just want to, so it's not, that's a typo. It's not Tuesday. But this week, Latino, Hispanic, Latinx research and learning activity. Next week, finals week, we'll talk more about it, but you're going to choose a third group's civil rights movement to study in the same format, right? So we're not easing into summer, but we're keeping it pretty measured. We're not doing anything crazy. And so hopefully that feels fair and it feels on target. This, look at this. This is so cool. Somebody did their learning activity for the African American civil rights movement and made this work of art. This is incredible. I mean, I literally I had my breath taken away. It was really cool. They also attached a few basic sentences to show, but really this speaks to like a really powerful understanding of what exactly the Little Rock Nine was, and in particular, the gentleman who stayed the course and was able to graduate, be the first African American to do that. So this was really cool for artwork. These posters, now I'm not interested in getting into the little details, but what these two posters did very well was what I look for is make it a poster, right? This is not just like, here's a picture and I wrote a paragraph. This is clearly like there's movement, right? There's action, okay? There's simple wording, but lots of information. This is the sort of thing that we need from those activities. The big note, and a few of you kind of flirted with it, if you're only including information that students already learned in seventh grade, if it's Martin Luther King, I have a dream, got shot, can't really do that 10th grade full credit, right? For the paragraphs, don't use I, 3 key points that support a main idea, right? Dr. King was the most important leader in the civil rights movement. There's your thesis. What are the 3 key points that you would talk about? Okay, now then apply that to this next one. We already saw beautiful artwork. Saw the bar is set high. The digital poster, saw some examples. Really, to be honest with you, you're the best class I've seen as of late making the digital posters for this. So I applaud you there. And then I can see this is getting cut off, and then we've got the bar here. But when you're making flashcards, you can't just say Martin Luther King and then flip it over. Because if I'm studying and it just says Martin Luther King, well, he was a dad, right? So we got to put that in some sort of context or sentence, something more about Martin Luther King. You can't just say his name and then flip it over and say a good dude. So we got to up that a little bit. Now, the thing about the, depending on your history with this topic, the Hispanic, Latino, Latinx civil rights movement may be newer to you. And because it's more unfamiliar for some of you, it may be a little confusing because it bleeds into lots of different areas. So some of the focus of the Latino civil rights movement was actually about workers. So it wasn't explicitly, I'm a Latino person, I'm a person from Mexico, it was about workers' rights. So as you read about that, for some people, that's a little confusing. Sometimes the movement included both black and brown folks. So it wasn't uniquely one movement. Same was true with the African American movement as well, but included some different groups. And then it's sometimes connected to immigration, but not always, right? Because we know that the United States bought land from Mexico. So there are lots of Latinx, Hispanic, Latino people who never immigrated, who simply found themselves on the other side of the border. I feel good about that summary. I feel good about keeping it under 10 minutes for the first time in a while. I just feel good about where we're at. Maybe it's because the weather is good, but we're in a good place. A lot of us are. A lot of us, like I said, if we're here on the 21st of May watching this, you've got some things you should be proud of, and that's fantastic. Continue to reach out, check in, let me know what I can do to help, and wear sunblock. Thanks. Take care. I miss you. Care about you. Hope you have a good day. Take care.